Welcome back. We are here at Cosmic Reunion 4th Density. This is Irvine, California, at the most amazing Temple of Light. And as if this location weren't light enough, all of you are here, and it is as bright as I can imagine anything ever being. And this is what we all carry. And it's really a lovely segue. While I'm doing this segue into presenting our next speaker, I have to just express gratitude for what we've been listening to in this time that we've taken between the speakers. This is called Light Bodies, and it's by Jonathan Wilk. Jonathan is amazing all on his own as the individual that he is. But what makes him also one more facet of being extra special in this moment, as I'm ready to introduce our next speaker, is that he is the partner of our next speaker. And so, Jonathan, thank you so much for the lovely music. It is really, I'm just floating up here. Our next speaker, Laura and I had the opportunity to interview recently on our radio program. Her name is Nora Herold, and I just have to tell you that we had so much fun. I had heard of Nora Herold, but I had not heard anything from her. I had just heard some good little rumblings over here and over there. And so I wasn't so sure what we were going to get into. So what I can tell you is that this is a person who you just feel the joy in her being. And that's really the best way that I can describe her, is that in our interview with her and in our subsequent conversations and even here, you just feel this immense joy. And so it makes you kind of want to look into her a little bit and figure out where this really comes from. And so the path that I feel has led Nora to this joy comes from over 20 years of channeling and lecturing and doing healing work. And so there's a certain happiness and peace to her. And you just know that this is, like with all of us, what we carry comes from how we assimilate our experiences and the meaning we choose to give them. She channels the Pleiadians, Yeshua, fairies, and other highly vibrational beings. She's also a Reiki master, so she knows all about energy, and she walks into a room and you just feel it. So I am thrilled and really happy to introduce to you Nora Herold.
Adjustment here. As much as I love Jonathan's music, which I do, it's just going to be me for now. Well, me and whomever else shows up. So hi. Bring it. I'm incredibly happy to be here today with all of you. I want to thank Ilya and Neil and Sol and Dr. Dream for the lovely introduction, and everyone else who came together to bring this event forth, all the wonderful speakers and presenters. And I'm really honored to be a part of it and to be here with all of you. Anybody can let me know at any time if there are sound issues here. I don't normally work with a microphone. I've got a pretty loud projecting voice, and I know that when I turn this way, I'm off the mic, and I will turn this way because I want to address everyone. So I'm going to channel for you today. So I'm going to explain my interpretation of channeling, how it is I perceive what I do, because I know that every single one of us has a different perspective and a different understanding of everything in our reality, and that's the beauty of this reality. There is not one single truth. So I'll put this out to you all as well. The Pleiadians always say it. Take what resonates for you today and leave the rest behind. Use your discernment. Feel into your bodies as you take in the information and the transmission that comes forth, and really listen to your own truth in the moment. It may be that something they say sparks a completely different truth or piece of information for you. It may be the opposite of what it is that they're saying. But if that truth is sparked for you in the moment, then it's your truth. And also be willing to let go of your truths. Because truth is only real in the moment. And this is something I've really found on my journey here of 20 plus years in this world and 46 plus years in this body, is my truths change all the time. And anytime I say to myself, okay, that's it, that's the story, I have it, I got it, no. The next day, the next week, the next month, a new piece of information comes in, I have a new experience, and that moves me forward along my journey, and that's what this is. It is a journey for all of us. So I have been direct voice channeling for approximately 17 years. I had my first contact with my spirit guide, Mirando, who I don't normally channel publicly, although I'm hearing from him right now that he might make an appearance today, which would be lovely. So we'll see if that happens. I was hanging out with a friend one night, and I was depressed. I was 29. I was going through my first Saturn return. Some of you may know what that is. It's an astrological aspect that occurs once every 28 years or so for each of us. So your first one is at the age of 28, 29. Your second Saturn return will happen at 55, 56, and on every 28 years. And when Saturn returns, many of us experience it like our lives are being flipped upside down. We're being flipped upside down along with that. And all of my beliefs had crumbled around me on the floor, including a relationship. I had terrible money issues and family issues, you know, you name it. I incarnated into a system this time through that gave me a lot of really good stuff to work on for very quickly at a very young age. So I was hanging out with this friend, and she mentioned this woman, Wendy Kennedy, who channels. She had just met Wendy. And some of you may be familiar with Wendy Kennedy. She's a good friend of mine, and we work together today still. So I said, well, what's that, talking to dead people? And she said, well, you know, you could do that, but Wendy talks to her spirit guide. You know, and when she said that, talks to her spirit guide, that lit me up in a way that I had not been lit up before. I had been looking for something, I'd been searching, and I said, well, I want to do that. I want to talk to my spirit guide, so let's do it. And I'd been reading tarot cards for years, and I'd always felt very sensitive and intuitive. And there was nobody there in the room, like Cynthia was saying. There was nobody there in the room to say to me, you can't do this. There was nobody there to say, you need special training, you need to take a class, or only special people can do this. So I sat there and meditated for a couple of minutes, and I suddenly felt the presence of a being whose energy was incredibly bright and presented this yellow light. I knew his name, and he felt like a male to me. I know now that beings are not really male or female, but we project those genders on them to help us better understand our relationships with them. I knew his name started with an M, and what I felt in that moment was a transmission of unconditional love, unlike anything Nora had ever experienced in this body before. So I had been in relationships, I had experienced love. I had never been so fully and completely loved and accepted in the moment like that. And it was extremely transformative for me. Within a very short amount of time, I began accessing past life memories, spontaneously. I began having ET experiences, both waking and dreaming. Began to remember some other ET experiences. But more importantly than that, I began channeling nonstop, all the time. While I was waitressing, while I was hanging out at home, there was a constant stream of information and connection happening, and I met many, many beings, along with my friends Wendy Kennedy and Amy Spohr. We met many beings at the time, and some of those beings I still work with today, and it was during that period of time that the Pleiadians first made themselves known to us. Okay, I think that's enough about my story for now, because that's enough. And I want to get to the channeling for all of you, and I want to get to working with you energetically. Perfect. And we're going to have some fun. You know, this has got to be fun for me. So I will direct voice channel for a while for you now. I don't know how long. And then we will do Q&A with all of you. There are a couple of microphones set up right here to my right. So when it's time for Q&A, we'll ask you to just come up to the microphone. We might ask you to just take seats over here if you have questions at that time. And you can ask about anything you want. Please make sure your cell phones are off. And please just watch the noise level in the room as I am channeling. It helps to have a quieter space while I'm allowing the transmission through. Yeah, that's right. Why not tone along? Greetings. This is the Pleiadian Collective, and it is wonderful to have this opportunity to link up with all of you beautiful universal beings of light in this fashion. Look at you. You are glorious, shining beings of light. And that's where we want to start with you today, your true identity as an incredibly high vibrational being of light. Look at your body right now. Look at your hands. Feel your body. Feel the weight and the beauty of your physical structure. Take a breath. Inhale right into your heart center and feel the truth of your identity as a universal being of light. With every inhalation of breath right now, we want you to light up from the inside out. So as you inhale, your heart expands, and as you exhale, feel the light of your being filling your physical body. As you inhale and exhale, and as you have this experience of recognizing your light, we're doing some work in the space right now. There's been a lot that's going on here over the last, well, we would say over the last couple of days, but truthfully, there's a lot that's going on in this particular spot over the last few thousand years. You're sitting on a very active vortex and portal right now. It's one of the reasons why this space was created here. It's one of the reasons why those who facilitate the work being done here are drawn to this space. So we're working with this space right now to bring us all into the same vibration, the same alignment. All right, so take a breath again, right into your heart center, and exhale. And know that this is how we will work with you for the day. So we will give you a verbal transmission of information, but more importantly, we will give you an energetic transmission of information that's deposited right into your energetic bodies. So it's very important that you really take care of yourselves over the next few days. Drink lots of water, get lots of rest, get into the sunlight as much as you can, and express your creative energy as much as you can as well. So we want to talk with you a bit about our perspective about what's happening here on planet Earth at this time, both with Earth itself and then collective humanity. You are in the process of a gigantic shift in consciousness. You're all aware of this, yes? You know, let's have everybody shake your bodies out of bed. You know, we'll have you do this throughout the program because we want you to remember that you're in a body while you hear this information. A lot of you have the tendency still, when you've taken this kind of information, to go up and out. And as you go up and out, you leave the physical form, and it is the vehicle. You are in the process of shifting. So to experience this shift, you've got to be fully grounded and centered within these physical bodies so they can more reflect the beings of light that you all are. So you're shifting from our perspective, and as Nora said earlier, there are many versions of the truth, so you've heard a number of different stories, all of you, throughout the course of this weekend, throughout the course of your lifetime. This is our version of what's happening right now. From our perspective, you are shifting from a third dimensional density to a fifth dimensional density, all right? Well, why from 3 to 5? What happened to the fourth dimension? Why are we skipping the fourth dimension? We hear you asking that quite often. Well, you're not skipping it. You're using it. You're using it as the vehicle for your shift, and it is currently the dimension that you're spending the most time in, the fourth dimension. It was such a big task to take yourselves from a third dimensional density where you believed time was linear, meaning time works on a line, where you believed matter was solid, where you believed all of these other limiting kind of thoughts. Such a job for you all to go from 3D to 5D, where you suddenly let go of linear time, let go of physical density, let go of all of the limitations you imposed upon yourselves, that you're using the fourth dimension to ease yourself through the journey. Take a breath, everybody. Yep, we'll remind you to breathe. We'll let you know as well when you're taking in information in this way, it's best for you to uncross your legs. We're going to ask that there be silence in the room. Thank you, everyone. When you're taking in information in this way, it's best for you to sit in an open and relaxed position. Thank you, everyone. So, what does it mean to shift from the third to the fifth dimension? How long will that take, and why didn't it happen on December 21st? That's a question that we hear some of you asking. We'll tell you that on December 21st, you did shift. You did. On December 21st of 2012, you left the third dimensional reality. You are moving through the fourth dimension, and you have access now to the fifth dimensional experience anytime you want. The reason you haven't gotten there yet fully consciously is because your minds are still getting in the way. What does that mean, my mind's getting in the way? I'm supposed to use my mind to make my way through this world. Well, yes, in the third dimension, that's right. You used your minds. The third dimension was set up to be a very mind-centered kind of experience. And you created this third dimensional mind full of all of these filters that would throw out any extraneous piece of data that would tell you you were anywhere but the third dimension. That's why a lot of you, when you've had metaphysical or paranormal experiences, you either have just had a glimpse of them, oop, what's that, out of the corner of my eye, or you've forgotten them. Let's talk about having your memories erased. Because you often perceive, all of you, that it's those beings outside of you that have been erasing your memories. Well, sure, that can happen. Like anything can happen in this reality. But of course, if you have a being outside of you erasing your memory from our perspective, because we understand all in the universe to be a creator, on some level you've given them permission to do so. But more often than not, you have forgotten your memories because your third dimensional mind was set up to cause you to forget. Let's look at it from this perspective. If all of you sitting in the room had had full conscious access to your experiences while you were children, meaning your experiences with angelic beings, spirit guides, extraterrestrials, fairies, on and on. You had full access to all of that information, and all of your memories of what was going on would have taken you off into another reality right away. You would have left. Why play in the third dimensional realm when you have access to something else? And that's not where it was you wanted to be. You wanted to seat your energy in the third dimension and shift yourselves from the inside out in tangent with Earth. This is the big news in this story. Never before in the universe have a collective humanity or a collective species and a planet shifted its consciousness in tandem. Take a breath and feel and remember the excitement you felt when you first volunteered for this experience. And that excitement doesn't sit right before this lifetime, all right? This is a game you have been playing for eons. And you have rounded a huge corner. Because on December 21st of last year, the self-imposed limitations of the third dimensional mind expired. Take a breath. We've seen for a lot of you that you've had these issues you've come up against in this life again and again and again. Same issue. Here it is, again. Why can't I get rid of it? Why can't I lose it? Why can't I let it go? Because the issue was serving you. On December 21st of last year, those limitations, they expired. They're no longer serving you. They're not part of your program any longer. We get confirmation over there from the little being on the other part of the room. Thank you. Now the fairies are joining us as well, so we're going to hear from them shortly. So those limitations expired. So you're saying to yourselves, well, if my limitations expired, why does the world still feel the same way to me? Well, that's because you're still defaulting back to those limitations. You don't really know that they've expired. So like when you have a carton of milk in the refrigerator that's expired, we see all of you do this. You take it out, you sniff it, you put it right back into the refrigerator. You think, yeah, I'll throw that out later. So right now, we want you to just take a breath and give yourself permission to start letting go of the limitations that have expired in your third dimensional mind. Because this is going to open you up to the fifth dimensional experience, which is a heart, mind-centered experience. Not third dimensional mind, fifth dimensional mind. So a big part of your journey since the harmonic convergence in 1987 has been to drop into your heart centers and begin using your hearts as the computers. A lot of you were involved in this process on this timeline without consciously having any awareness that this is what you were actually doing. It does not matter when you woke up. In 1987, the light switch flipped for all of you during the harmonic convergence, and you were given that memory, that awareness that it was time to move into your heart centers. Became a very emotional journey for all of you. And we still see that many of you are having a very emotional journey. We want to say to you about your emotions, respect them. Respect every single emotion you feel. Stop calling them light and dark. Stop calling them good and bad. One of the gifts of the third dimensional experience is the emotional roller coaster ride of the third dimensional experience. It is one of the reasons why you were all so excited to come here in the first place. We like to liken it to going to an amusement park. So you can remember going on the roller coaster for the first time as a child, and I'm sure there are many of you listening who were afraid to do that. Raise your hand if you were afraid before going on a roller coaster for the first time, right? All right, so you were afraid, and then you got on it, you took the trip, and it was so much fun, you got off and got right back on again and again and again, and that has been your incarnational cycle here in the third dimension. It is an amusement park of emotion and experience, and it has been a hell of a lot of fun for all of you. It really has. No matter what your perspective is in the moment, your fifth dimensional identity, your higher self, is learning, growing, evolving. You are constantly transmitting information to those of us that exist in the higher realms, as was stated earlier in the day. We all learn from you as we give information to you. This is a two-way street. You know, let's talk to you about our identity for a moment. We are a 12th dimensional collective. From our perspective, this is a universe of 13 dimensions. That's just the story we give. And again, there are other stories out there. Our story is not right or wrong. It is just our version of the story. It's our game that we like to play. The 13th dimension is where source energy completely exists. When you go to the 13th dimension, you know yourself as complete with source. There's not a sense of separation, individuality, or identity. You are completely immersed with source energy in that dimension, and that is your point of origin in this universe. That is where you all began. You are not working your way up. You began as incredibly high vibrational beings of light. You still are those incredibly high vibrational beings of light. You just have dropped your frequency to have different experiences on different dimensions. So we are a 12th dimensional collective of beings. We like to call ourselves Pleiadians because the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective, with which many of you are familiar with, are a part, they are a piece of our energy. We are an oversoul being that sits on the 12th dimension that has sent off aspects of our energy to many other dimensions, one of those aspects being the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective. Greetings, this is the 9th dimensional Pleiadian collective. So for some of you who have listened to Nora in the past, you're going to hear the familiarity in our vibration and in our resonance. We transmit using tone and vibration. You can see Nora is backing away from the microphone because our tone, our frequency operates differently in the room. Just feel right now the difference in your bodies as we work with you energetically, and the difference as we, the 12th dimensional Pleiadian collective, work with you. Now, one is not better or higher than the other. We simply work with you in different ways. Take a breath. This is Kaliandra. Greetings. I'm Kaliandra. I am fairy. I'm 5th dimensional fairy. Again, we're having Nora back up from the microphone because I get very boisterous when I come through Nora. So we want to talk to you about the fairies for a bit of time here because there's a lot of confusion on your planet about who the fairies actually are, all right? When we say the word fairy, immediately many of you think of Tinkerbell, right? You think of tiny, winged being who's mischievous and who maybe has some magical powers, but you're not really sure the benefit of the fairy. So we want to clear that up with you. We are gigantic beings of light. As you are gigantic beings of light. Sometimes, so as not to scare you, we present as tiny winged beings. Sometimes we are depicted that way by others who wish to diminish our light, diminish our power. We have had a long history with all of you here on the planet. We have been in the 5th dimension for quite some time. As you make your way into the 5th, we are transiting into the 6th. We know that many of you understand that what is happening on Earth, what humanity is doing and what Earth is doing collectively, is having universal ramifications, and this is one of the ramifications of that journey. We, the fairy, are moving to the 6th dimension. We're making way, so to speak, for you to occupy the 5th. So a lot of you ask, what is it like in the 5th dimension? So I'll tell you, my day in the 5th dimension. There's no day. Unless I want it to be day. Oh, I'd like day. Oh, I see, the sky is blue, the sun is shining, I busy myself with this task. Oh, then I'd like to take myself here. Well, maybe here is 5,000 years ago. Oh, look what fun that is. Oh, I'm tired of that. I think I'd like to get in my ship and travel interdimensionally through a wormhole to the Pleiades, to the 5th dimensional version of the Pleiades. Oh, that would be fun today. This is my not day. What are relationships like in the 5th dimension? You often want to know. We've had that question asked of us. What is sex with a fairy like? Well, our sexual connections are much more energetically expressed than physically expressed. And this is where you're all headed. You're getting out of this idea that the body is the be-all and end-all. You are respecting your bodies more as you fill yourselves with light, so you can actualize the light body experience in conjunction with the physical. And this is an experience we can have. So if I, Kaliandra, want to take full physical form and have sexual intercourse with another being in a full physical expression, I can. But what I cannot do is forget my identity, forget that I am an expression of Source, and forget my light. What most of you do is forget all that. So you find another, and you decide you want to partner with that person, you want to have sex with that person because you want to run your connection to Source through that person and find your way to God through that other person. And this is something you're remembering now not to do. What you're remembering now to do on planet Earth is to feel your own connection with Source and to feel that connection with Source energy through the orgasm. Our recommendation for all of you when it comes to this activity, when it comes to experiencing full Source connection through the orgasm, is to do that first alone, with yourself, and only yourself. That you masturbate, that you touch yourself, that you fully activate your chakras, that you not fantasize about anyone, any act, anything, that instead you focus on your body, you focus on the experience energetically and the sensations, and as you experience your orgasm, that you understand yourself as Source energy. You understand that big expression that you feel there in the orgasm as you, fully understanding yourself as Source. This is the Pleiadians. We're going to jump in and talk just a little bit more with you about this. One of the things that's happened on your world is that you've gotten very energetically entangled with each other. And one of the places you really get energetically entangled is in your sexual relationships. You start to run your energy through the person, they run their energy through yours, suddenly you don't know whose sadness is whose, you don't know what's what. Take a breath, all of you, shake your hands out. Some of you are thinking, wow, we didn't know we'd be hearing about sex today. Nora's thinking, oh, I didn't know I'd be speaking about sex today. She wanted me us to share that with all of you. This is Nora, that's true. You know, I asked them beforehand, what are we talking about today? Bupkis, nothing. They gave me nothing beforehand. Lately, they're doing that more and more. They'll say to me, you know, your mind, your third dimensional mind will just get in the way of the transmission. So they're not giving me any cliff notes any longer. Excuse me. Hi, everybody. Having fun? Yes? Okay, we'll go to Q&A soon. I can feel where we need to have some more interaction. This is the Pleiadians here. So, the energetic and emotional untangling work and detangling work that's been happening on the planet for all of you has been going on for quite some time, and it's been really fierce for some of you. The untangling work, not so difficult. When you find you're tangled with another and the untangling happens easily, all right, but the detangling work, sometimes to detangle your energy from another, you have had to create a real rift in the relationship itself. So we've seen a lot of you go through this. We've seen you go through it in your sexual relationships. We've seen you go through it with your friendships. We've seen you go through it with your family members as well, where there are just periods of time where you have to have physical, emotional, intellectual, and energetic separation from that other earthling to be able to detangle energetically. And these entanglements that we're talking about, they were not just seated in this lifetime's experience. You are working on energetically detangling and untangling from all your lifetime experiences, but because the reascension process that is underway is not just this version of you accessing its fifth dimensional identity. It is every version of you that has ever existed in third dimensional density actualizing its fifth dimensional identity. Take a breath. Now, you don't have to access and catalog all of your memories. It would be patently impossible for all of you to do that at this time. But what you can start doing is accessing more of your memories. So we'll give you a very easy way to do that. You find yourself thinking about somebody that you're in conflict with. Let's say you're just doing a task around the house and this person comes into your mind. And you have a conflict with them and you don't know how to resolve it, or maybe you know for now there is no resolution to it and you just need some space. Ask yourself in the moment, well, is there a past life component to this conflict? And then check in with your body. You all know your bodies. You know when it is that your body is telling you yes, and you know when it is that your body is telling you no. So check in with your bodies. Is there a past life component here? Ah, yes, there is. Well, who was that person to me in that other lifetime? Just ask the question. Then something will pop into your head. Ah, my mother. That person was my mother. Now here's where it gets tricky for a lot of you. At that point, you usually say, oh, I'm just making that up. All right. Well, yes, on some level, you're making it up. Because all of reality is an illusion. So yes, it is made up, but at the same time, it's real. If your energy, if your essence is saying to you in the moment, if your body is saying, that was my mother in another life, then that person was your mother in another lifetime. Take a breath. And then what you can do in that moment is send a transmission of unconditional love to that version of you in that other life that experienced the trauma. And as you send that transmission, it's just a simple inhalation of breath, lighten up your heart center, and an exhalation with the intent that the energy go to that version of you. That's it. It's not even so much about sending the one who was your mother love, because she's not really the one with the problem. You are. Remember that. As you alter yourself, your reality around you alters. That is the way you are all working. And we know you like to play the victim-perpetrator game in this reality, and it's been a lot of fun for a long time. But it's time for you all now to transcend that experience, to take full ownership, full responsibility as a creator being, as the beautiful, universal, high vibrational being of light that you are, and move yourself forward, move yourself along your paths. All right, there's one other piece we're going to cover, and then we're going to take some questions. So we want to talk about the position of your higher self or your fifth dimensional identity, because all of you right now are operating with two identities. There's your third dimensional identity, and that's the birth name you were given, and that childhood, and all of those issues, and all the past lives. That's a lot. And then there is your fifth dimensional identity, or your higher self. A lot of you have used that term higher self. We're using the terms higher self and fifth dimensional identity interchangeably. We see them as the same. So, for a long time, we've seen that you all have placed your higher selves in a floaty little space above you, in the same space that you might have placed your high heart chakra. That's the 8th chakra. Take a breath right now and feel your higher self as right here in your heart center. And feel the positioning of your high heart chakra here as well. Feel how much power that gives you in the moment to suddenly understand yourself as your higher self. Now, where's the ego identity in all of this? Well, the ego identity still exists. It's still running in tangent with the higher self. This is one of the reasons why life is so confusing for all of you right now, because you've got two drivers in the vehicle at all times. And we see you often, all of you, flip-flopping back and forth between the ego and the higher self. And this is going to happen for a while still, all right? So we want you to be really patient, loving, and gentle with yourselves as you run the integration experience. Let's run a process with all of you. So go back into your heart centers here. Really inhale into your 4th and high heart chakra, now placing that in the heart center. Greetings, this is Yeshua. We greet you with love and joy. A number of years ago, we began to give a process called the whole heart chakra activation and meditation. Right now, we want you all to actualize your whole heart chakra without needing to know how. Because this is one of the other gifts of your shift. You don't need long processes any longer to get yourselves from A to B. You simply need a breath and an instant. So feel the activation of your whole heart chakra. And what that really is your personal heart chakra and your universal heart chakra combined as one, which allows the higher self, the 5th dimensional identity, more access to the vehicle. And as you inhale and expand your light, on the exhalation of breath, begin to feel the energies of your 5th dimensional identity move down your vehicle into your 3rd chakra. And really inhale now into your 3rd chakra and exhale. This is where you really begin to re-identify in the body. As you integrate into the 3rd chakra, you let go of the ego attachments of this lifetime, of your other lifetimes, and open up to the truth of your 5th dimensional identity, of that higher being. And now as you inhale and exhale, feel that light and energy move into your 2nd chakra. And really expand. You can place your hands on your 2nd chakra if you like. And check in. How welcome is your 5th dimensional identity, your higher self, and your 2nd chakra? We'll tell you, we see the 2nd chakra as the chakra that's been most difficult for all of you to integrate in. So some of you may be viewing this exercise right now and saying, in fact, I don't know that I want my higher self in my 2nd chakra. Take a breath. A lot of you have sexual shame, not just from this lifetime, but from many other lifetime experiences. And as that shame comes up, related to either abusive type situations you found yourself in or abuser type situations you played out, as that shame comes up, often the ego identity will clamp down and say, I don't deserve that light in my second chakra. So right now, we want you to say to yourselves, I am deserving of my light in my second chakra. Feel that shift right there. A lot of you just really opened up. And now as you breathe, allow the energies of your higher self to move into the base of your spine, into your tailbone, and also the soles of your feet. We want you to view the first chakra as a triangle. The apex at the base of your spine, the other 2 points in the soles of your feet. Really breathe your higher self's energy into that first chakra area. This allows you, if you perceive your first chakra in the soles of your feet as well as at the base of your spine and your tailbone, it allows you then to fully connect with Earth's energy using your first chakra in a physical way as well as an energetic way. Wow, this is the Pleiadians. You're all very altered right now, and the energy and the space is altered. Check in with that right now. Feel that. Because what's happened here is you've begun to activate your fifth dimensional energetic bodies. You see, your fifth dimensional identity cannot be housed in the container of your third dimensional vehicle. Your fifth dimensional identity is much bigger than your third dimensional vehicle. So as you work the energy of your fifth dimensional identity more fully into your chakra systems, the light expands out of you as well. As the light expands out of you, this is what we're calling your fifth dimensional energetic body. Within your fifth dimensional energetic body lies your fifth dimensional chakra system. Take a breath. We're giving you a lot of technology today. Your fifth dimensional chakra system. We perceive your fifth dimensional chakra system to be many points of light, shapes, spirals, colors, orbs, moving around and through your physical bodies. As you more fully actualize your fifth dimensional energetic bodies and your fifth dimensional chakra system, this is what will allow you to move into full creator abilities. All right, so in the third dimension, you've been using that rudimentary chakra system of 7 main chakras, and you have been running law of attraction, meaning what you were carrying within your chakra systems, you were reflecting outside of you. And in the third dimension, you were confined to a limited amount of energy to play with, because in the third dimension, you cannot manifest something out of nothing, right? Shape changes, moves, but you cannot drum something up out of thin air in the laws of the third dimension. It's one of the reasons why you've had such a huge increase in your population on the planet at this time. It's taking an incredible amount of energy for you all to shift, and all of these beings coming in are facilitating that energetic drive and push. However, when you transcend the laws and the limitations of the third dimension and begin playing in the laws of the fifth dimension, you have access to an infinite amount of energy. You can create something out of nothing. And this is how you begin to operate as instantaneous manifestors. All right, everyone stand up for a minute and just jump up and down a little bit. Good, thank you. And have a seat, and if somebody would please step to the microphone and ask a question. And, you know, whomever wants to answer is who will answer. And we'll just go from there until we run out of time.
I've been told That I'm not connected to my soles of my feet, to my heart, and planning on doing the El Camino, the Santiago walk. And I really, really, really want to do it.
This is Kaliandra here. So first we're going to tell you that, yes, you'll take that trip, you will take that journey, and you will have the experience you desire. But you will have the experience you desire because you desire it. Take a breath. We would say to you, you're absolutely connected into your heart. Look at you. Look at how beautiful you are in this moment. You do not need to take this journey to connect into your heart. You need to take this journey because you need a journey.
Thank you.
Well, let's clear that piece up for all of you. You're all connected in your hearts. You couldn't be here on the planet if you didn't experience heart connection. You know, a lot of you have heard many things over the years in the process of working with different people or just in your own mind. And a lot of those things you heard were often simply echoes from the past. Echoes from childhood traumas, echoes from other lifetimes. You are all high vibrational beings of light. You can do anything you want right now. Next question.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here. I'm learning about what's possible for me and for our reality. Possibilities that we've been told through enslavement that aren't. I want to know more about that. I want to know how can I make things possible for me in my reality and for others that are that we've been told by corporate structures and global elites. And I want to know how we can break free of that kind of enslavement in our own world, not just through our minds, because I can know it in my mind, but then I'm in the 3D reality. It's challenging.
All right, this is the Pleiadians here. That's a great question. Thank you. Thank you for your question. That's a great question because you do all feel enslaved on some level. And part of the reason for that is because you set up. You set up. We all set up the enslavement game. It's a game. So the way to move through the game is to move through the game. The first piece is to wake up and say, holy, I'm enslaved. So typically what happens after that moment, when you have that moment of recognition where you've been enslaved, is all of this emotion comes up, all right? So we've seen a lot of you deal with anger and grief and anger and anger and anger and anger and anger. The anger has been a big piece for a lot of you. And one of the reasons why anger has been a big piece for a lot of you is because you were also programmed not to feel your anger. So we'll talk about anger for a minute. Anger is the emotion that you were all given, that you gave yourselves. So when your boundaries were being violated, you would become aware. Anger is the red light. It's the uh-oh. Something is happening here that should not be happening, that is not happening for my highest good. Anger is incredibly important, and as we said earlier, simply an experience, not a good one, not a bad one. So when you felt your anger, then you were supposed to key into your third chakras, express your identity, your sense of self, declare your boundaries. But because so many of you, or we would say all of you, have been talked out of feeling your anger again and again and again, you have all of this repressed anger that has now manifested as rage. Rage is that big, ugly-looking, uncontrollable monster that you become. Who here in the space has felt rage? Excellent, thank you. The only way to get through this is to be fully honest about where you're at. So yes, everyone on the planet has felt rage. when you feel your rage surface, that is not the moment to take action. When your rage surfaces, that is the moment to breathe and love yourself even more. Once you've cleared your rage, and a lot of you have done tremendous amount of work around clearing your rage. And again, we're not just speaking about this lifetime. We're talking about every incarnation you have ever had. Once you've cleared your rage, then you begin to allow yourself healthy access to your anger again. Anger should be experienced as a pleasurable emotion. Who here in the space has felt that? Anger as pleasurable? Good. As fun, even. When that flash of anger comes over you and you express yourself and your boundary, and then you get on with your day. That's right. All right, so that's the first step in answering that question. It's a long answer to the question, because this step here around rage and anger is significant. If you stay stuck in your rage, you will stay stuck as a slave to your rage. And you will continue to manifest from that place, and always from that place. So once you do that, then you start to really remember, oh yeah, I helped to manifest this in the first place. I helped to create this, because you all did. We all did. Everything that is happening on this planet, in this universe, on some level, there is collective agreement. And every single one of you sitting in these seats calling yourself a light worker, in another incarnation, you were as dark can be. Take a breath right now and feel the truth in that. Remember, integration is not just about shifting from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. It is about healing and clearing any and all trauma. And to be able to fully do that, that means you have to understand the source of all trauma within yourselves. Then as you get there, all right, I was that bad guy. And we don't mean you get there in an intellectual way, because a lot of you have already gone there intellectually. You said, oh yeah, I was that rapist, murderer, whatever, yeah, I get it. No. There is a moment emotionally where you get it. You access what you're calling your shadow. You really access it, and it's wrapped up there in your rage. And as you access your own shadow, you clear it. You love even more those shadowy aspects of yourself. And as you do that, the reflection around you changes. Suddenly, you're living in a freer environment because you are feeling free yourself. You see, this work, our work with all of you is energetic. It is about working from the inside out. We're not going to give you a series of steps to take to your political leaders. We're going to tell you all, each of you, how to claim your sovereign state here with these bodies and manifest a reality that serves you in the moment. And remember that everyone else on the planet has the opportunity to do the same. Because we see a lot of you wanting and desiring this level of freedom, this sovereign experience for everyone else as well. And it is fine to want that, to desire it, to intend that, to send love and light to that. It is not okay to become distracted by that and let that take you out of your own journey. Your own journey is essential right now. It's your greatest gift on the planet. Your individual shift, each one of you, is the highest level of service you will ever bring. Take a breath. The other piece of this is there are collective understandings about the shift in general, and there is something called divine right timing. The Earthlings, you all here on planet Earth, are not the only ones embroiled in this game of light and dark. This is a universal game, and there is a divine timeline. And sometimes, no matter how much you want to make something happen, if you are not at that juncture on the timeline, you cannot bring it forth. So in those moments When you feel frustrated, instead of raging against that which you feel enslaves you, again, send love to the aspects of yourself that feel frustrated, and then create something beautiful in your own space. We see all of you as seeing that as not quite very significant. What's the big deal if I go make a beautiful piece of art? Well, think about if all 7+ billion of you in one moment made something beautiful. How that would shift. And remember that your shift is exponential and that you are communicating with each other telepathically, energetically at all times. So when you sit in your home space and you believe yourself to be enclosed in those walls and alone and separate and detached from everyone and make something beautiful, what you're actually doing is transmitting that beauty to your entire community. And all of you are operating this way as light workers. You take in energetic transmissions, you take in information, love, and light, you process it through your own bodies, and then you transmit it out into your community. You are affecting everyone around you in every moment. Most of the time, you're not aware of it. We would say put your attention more on that as well. Become more aware of that. When you go out to run errands, don't let it be about running errands any longer. Let it be about connecting. Let it be about transmitting light. I'm going to go out and transmit some light, and I'm also going to pick up some coffee while I do it. Thank you. Next question.
My name's Rich. I'd like to know if I'm going to be involved in building pyramid structures around the world.
Well, one of the reasons, this is the Pleiadians, Rich, one of the reasons you're asking the question is because it's something you've already done in other incarnations. Feel very drawn to it. It's very familiar to you in your memory banks. Right now, what we see for you is that you're still in the process of creating your designs. You're still in the process of even kind of fully understanding what it is these pyramid structures are going to be intended for. Our message to you right now is continue with that work. Continue, in fact, with the work you can do in this moment. We're going to speak to the audience at large now, because this is a question we'll often get asked. Will I be able to do something in the future that feels beyond my control in this moment? And that's what's going on here for you with this. So our answer always will be, do what it is you can do in this moment, right now. Give that desire physical action. The more you physically actualize that desire, Rich, if it is for your highest good, in divine right timing, yes, you will. But notice we put that if there. But in giving it physical action, you will feel fulfilled, and you will pull in a more fulfilling reality, and ultimately that's what you're looking for, is to pull in a reality that feels more fulfilling for you. And that is far more important, pulling in a reality that allows you to feel more fulfilled than the specifics themselves. So this is something else we want you all to work on. Let go of your attachments to whatever it is you think it's supposed to look like, smell like, taste like, the package. The package is so boring and changeable, to be honest with all of you. It's the feelings and the energetics that you're really desiring. So really light up right now, Rich. Let your light be seen. Feel your joy as you create on paper and see what that brings in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Question, what is the best way to partnership with the Pleiadians? Because we're here on Earth, so we're here to do it, to be it. So what is the best way to partner with you?
All right, so we love your question. We're loving all of your questions. Thank you, because the gift of these questions is there's an individual component, but there's a collective component to the answer as well. We'll say, in large part, you are already partnering with us, all of you, because you're carrying genetic material that is Pleiadian. So check your own genetics. You've got a Pleiadian component genetically, and start to feel that. You know, we were one of the groups of beings who donated genetic material to Earth. So there's that piece of information. There's a little more to that story as well, and there are, again, a number of different versions of how Earth was created. We'll just give you this piece right now. There are a number of different versions regarding how Earth was created, because this is not the first Earth. Take a breath. During the Orion Wars, there was another planet called Earth. And that Earth housed the fairy. The fairy in their third dimensional form. Take a breath. We've spoken in the past in other lectures about the time that the fairy planets were destroyed during the Orion Wars as part of collateral damage in the wars themselves. The fairies were not participating in the wars, neither were the Lyrans. The fairies and the Lyrans were already collaborating together to create a hybrid species, and they were working on a project on Earth called Lemuria. Take a breath. And they got wind that they were in trouble, they were in danger, that the conflict was coming to their sector of the galaxy, and many evacuated, and the planet was destroyed. The original Earth was blown up. Take a breath, all of you. Some of you are getting triggered right now by this piece of information. So the Lyrans and the fairies and the Lyran-fairy hybrids came to this planet that you're calling Earth, and brought with them Pleiadian DNA, Arcturan DNA, Sirian DNA, all different kinds of DNA, seeded that DNA, because the original Earth had been that living library, that experiment. And then began again their work on Lemuria. The work on Lemuria was around creating a more highly advanced consciousness in the third dimension. So these memories are starting to surface for a lot of you now. That's why we're releasing the information. And it's also why a lot of you have had the fear that Earth itself was going to be destroyed. It's not prophecy that you're afraid of, it's your memory. It's your memory of that destruction. And many of you listening to this transmission, we'd say all of you listening to this transmission, if you're drawn to that transmission, it's important for you. You were either destroyed on the first Earth, beings you loved were destroyed on that first Earth, you were there. Take a breath. And it's why you run so much anxiety right now, a lot of you, around the reascension process. Your fear is that you're repeating it. You're not. Okay, back to answering the rest of your question. So work with yourself genetically. Remember, you are all hybrids. None of you are earthlings. You just live on this planet that now happens to be called Earth. But you carry genetic material from all over the universe. The other way to partner with us is to ask for us to be present with you in this way, to work with us energetically and telepathically. So when we say you're carrying DNA that's Pleiadian, that doesn't mean you're carrying the 12th dimensional collective with you. That means you're carrying genetic material that was of a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth dimensional density with you. Carrying that in your bodies. So that would be our recommendation for you. And if you're drawn to it, do it. You know, here's the thing. We are available to all of you, to every single one of you. As Nora said earlier, you don't need a special gift or a special ability to do what it is she is doing right now, because it is in your genetic makeup to link up with other beings, high vibrational beings, in this way. One of the reasons a lot of you don't do it is because you had those limitations in the third dimensional mind getting in the way. Well, those limitations expired. They expired last year. So suddenly, you can do things you could not do just a few months ago. You haven't caught up with that yet. We can see it. As we say it to you, you really haven't. And even when you do have bigger experiences, you don't really allow them in yet fully, because you think to yourself, oh, I couldn't do that before, so why am I doing that now? Yes. Enjoy, embrace your bigger experiences, and that's another way to partner with us. Embrace it all. Thank you. Next question.
We have about 10 minutes.
Hi, Nora, Larry.
Hi, Larry.
I have a question for the fairies.
Yes.
Why would they be vacating our space in a fifth dimension to leave it? I think it was kind of like, feels like chasing. So when I have experiences with them here and now if we're creating a new place to play, it would be nice to have them there too.
Callie Andre here. We're here right with you right now. And one of the things you've got to understand is you're becoming the fairy. You're becoming the fairy that you actually are. So you're not going to miss out on interaction with the fairies, because as your transmutation continues, okay, you are still enmeshed in your shift. And a part of your shift is the physical body shifting as well. Shifting from silicon-based to crystalline-based. This is already happening in your energetic bodies. This is who we are. We're crystalline-based. Well, you're going to become crystalline-based, which means you will be the fifth dimensional fairy. We will say to you as well, there's not nearly the gap between 5D and 6D as there is 3 and 5. So the fifth dimensional and sixth dimensional beings have full access to one another.
That's going to be fun.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question?
How are you all feeling? Do you have a question back there? No, you were just... Great, thumbs up. All right, we'll give a wrap up then. Thank you, Ilya. All right, let's tone again just for a moment, shall we? Just shake your bodies out a bit. This is the Lyrans. We just wanted to come in and say hello. We are Lyran. We are Lemurian. We are those Lyran fairy hybrids that were spoken about earlier. We are the beings who left Earth, came to this Earth, created Lemuria. So many of you view us as your ancestors. And there is a timeline where the Lyrans seeded Earth. So we're trying to help you understand the different versions of galactic history today, different versions of your histories. Let go of trying to put it all on one line. That's a very third-dimensional way of processing information. That's right. Take a breath, all of you. A lot of you are feeling our energy for the first time right now. When you find your mind becoming overactive and trying to work too hard at figuring something out, take a breath and drop into your hearts. And then feel the truth of the information in your heart. Understand suddenly how it is that there could be 2 Earths or even 3 Earths, how there could be this origin story and that origin story and this origin story and that origin story, and they're all true, because they are. You are doing such amazing work, all of you. Already, collectively, you have jumped many, timelines yourselves over the past couple of years. Some of you may remember that when we first accessed Nora, she was channeling recordings that were made hundreds of thousands of years ago, and that we no longer existed in your current version of reality. We had been destroyed ourselves. And then over the course of collective humanity's shift and reascension process, we exist again with you. So some of you are feeling some emotion around this because family that you thought was gone forever is suddenly here again. And this is your shift. It is the death cycle. You believe it wholeheartedly, and then you see it for the illusion that it is. This is the Pleiadians. This is reality. You believe it wholeheartedly. You feel it, you process it, you run it through your being, you get all upset and triggered by it, and then you see it as the illusion that it all is. And that's what we want to leave you with today. Stay light. Feel your feelings and feel respect for your emotions, but don't react to your feelings. Stay light. I feel angry. It's funny that I feel angry. You can do that. That's not disrespectful. That is you fully acknowledging yourself and then you lightening up. You'll find you'll be able to do this with people around you who are too heavily invested in their emotions. All right, so there's a difference between feeling, honoring, and respecting your emotions and then becoming heavily invested or self-indulgent in your emotional bodies. There's a big difference there. And when you're around another who is self-indulgently processing an emotion, send light, be light yourself. Don't drop your vibration. This is your work now. Stay in your fifth dimensional frequency as much as you possibly can. And yes, of course, there will be times when you drop your frequency into third dimensional density. That is to be expected. You are not full fifth dimensional beings at this time. But all of you are finding it's easier and easier to suddenly switch, to feel it, to be in the third dimensional density, and then to take a breath, lighten up, and be in the fifth. Do it right now. Play with it in your bodies. We're not going to tell you how, because we don't want to tell you how to do anything any longer. You all know how to do it. It's in your bodies. Right now, be your fully third dimensional self. Ugh. This is Nora. Like, right away, I'm like, as I do it, I'm like, ugh, I'm big. I'm sweaty. I'm uncomfortable. Oh my God, what are people thinking of me? Okay. Now, this is the Pleiadian. I'm just using myself as usual as a guinea pig. This is the Pleiadians here. All right, so feel your third dimensional. Now, shift into your fifth dimensional identity. Well, feel that in your hearts. Feel your heart open. Feel your expansiveness. Feel your light, your love. Feel your connection to all in the space. We love you. We love you. We love you. Anytime you need us, anytime you need any of your guides, simply take a breath and ask, and you will feel our love. Thank you all so very, very much for being with us today. I so enjoyed my time with all of you. Okay, Jonathan CD Light Bodies is for sale on the table. It's $15. I have some DVDs back there as well. And then on May 11th and 12th in Ojai, Wendy Kennedy and I will be presenting a 2-day workshop together, all on fifth dimensional integration and activation. We'll be working on telepathy, instantaneous manifestation, instantaneous healing, getting downloads on processes. And then I do a monthly teleconference. All info's on my website, noraherold.com. Thank you. Thank you. Mwah!
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Nora Herold and the rest of the crew with her. So we're going to take a 20-minute break, and what time does that say now? So we'll be back at 10 after 6. for our final speaker. And so get yourself some water, check out some of the vendors, and connect with each other, and we'll be right back.